Greetings, biological algorithms attempting to not get derezzed. I am Patrick Smith. This is Disenthrall. Today I'm here with my partner in victimless crime, Kaysen, and we have something to talk about that is kind of nerdy, kind of conspiratorial, but also kind of important and a decent window into the reality of government intrusion into our lives when it comes to technology. So, as you can see here, I have a website pulled up. This talks about a story going on proving that the NSA is actively trying to influence core technology companies in the world. The NSA is developing technology and then lobbying heavily, and as we'll see, doing some pretty creepy stuff to get their technology inserted into things that we already trust because they're not NSA related. So here's the deal. There is a thing called Linux. Linux is another operating system. So you have Windows, you have Mac, and you have Linux. It's kind of the nerd's operating system. It's harder to learn, but arguably much more powerful. It's also the foundation of, actually, it's what's running kind of behind the scenes of Macs. Every Android phone Android is actually a flavor of Linux. It's the Linux operating system sort of streamlined down to run on a mobile device, and that's kind of related to this story as well. So the NSA developed an encryption algorithm. And I don't want to do deep dives into every technological word here, but Kaysen, hit me up if I blow past something important.
What is encryption?
No. Yeah, so if you encrypt your hard drive on your computer, it's so that if somebody steals your computer and they don't have the password, they can't see what was on your hard drive. Most modern phones, especially Androids, are also encrypted. So if somebody steals them and they don't have your password, they can't see what was on your phone. The government can't either, unless, well, we won't make any specific assumptions about Apple technology, but or Microsoft phones. But
well, mostly Apple. There was some shade in that. I felt it. It was palpable.
Yeah, we're gonna try to leave the Apple shade alone today. So the NSA developed their own. This is really weird. The NSA developed their own encryption algorithms called Spec, and there was another one. Yeah, I think Spec's the main one anyway.
Crypt.
So,
oh, sorry, no, that's a developer. My bad.
Yeah. So the NSA developed their own encryption algorithm, and then literally is trying to get the people in charge of the Linux project to insert their algorithm into their operating systems. Now, primarily this was targeted for mobile devices. But we can get to this. Oh, it's important to note, before you panic, you should know that it's not a backdoor.
Wrong think. There's wrong think afoot.
Yeah. Okay. So
unthink, double bad thoughts.
They looked into it. They reviewed the algorithm created by the NSA and didn't see any backdoors. So you couldn't say it's like the NSA is trying to backdoor all the devices. It's just a weaker, or what you'd say more lightweight encryption designed for devices with low computing power, like budget mobile devices, or like Internet of Things devices for your house, like your refrigerator that's now going to have like a smart refrigerator that connects to the internet to text you when you're low on milk or whatever.
That's what we need in the world. More smart refrigerators.
So it's got kind of a valid reason for existing. You want a lighter weight encryption. Yeah, you might be sacrificing some security, but you're mostly going to run this on unimportant devices, like your budget cell phones aren't important. So the NSA wanted Spec and its companion algorithm Simon to become the global standard for next generation Internet of Things gizmos and sensors. NSA tried to aggressively push this algorithm I just want to point out, why is the NSA, a government agency, trying to develop world standards for encryption that we're supposed to trust and use? That's a little mind-blowing to me. Why would anyone trust these asshole criminal mother effers with this? Why are they even trying to do it? That on its face is highly suspect. But not only that, they tried to aggressively push this algorithm to an extent that some cryptographer alleged bullying and harassment at the hands of the NSA, which we will get to their tweets.
Wait, that's a pretty heavy accusation. We got to get... They have tweets? You have evidence?
They have tweets. They have tweets.
You can back this up?
Oh, yeah. We can click over here to their Twitter. Evidence. I am being asked why we objected to Simon and Spec. Let's see if I can make this bigger. But are seemingly fine with Russian and Chinese algorithms. There's a long discussion to have here, but one reason is this. The NSA's behavior was outrageously adversarial to the process. They refused to motivate design choices they made, such as the choice of matrices. Instead, they chose to personally attack some of the experts as incompetent. Being international in nature, ISO's decision-making process about building consensus, the NSA's aggressive behavior
what's
together...
What's ISO? Just before we continue on, what's ISO?
International Standards and Compliance. We didn't. I should have probably switched to the tweets after we talked about this. The ISO, which is the organization that kind of helps coordinate standards that all technology is developed on top of. Like, if you want, like HTML is the global language of browsers. All the browsers sort of speak the same language so that they can all load web pages the same. The ISO is one of the groups that sort of coordinates standards like that to help these companies cooperate with each other enough to interoperate, and so they rejected.
What that means to me is that I can load up a website on an Apple and a Mac and a Linux, and everything's fine.
Yeah, or your phone or whatever.
Make the back end stuff on that.
Yep.
Okay.
So they blocked the Simon and Spec algorithms amid concerns that they contained a backdoor that would allow U.S. spies to break the encryption of the world. Though no researcher found a backdoor, the algorithms were rejected because NSA didn't even provide the normal level of technical detail to researchers. This increased the speculation of a backdoor in the algorithm. And so going back to the tweets, NSA's aggressive behavior together with half-truths and full lies they provided us with discouraged such consensus, which brought us to where we are today. This is yet another example as to how the NSA's surveillance program is bad for global security. If they had been more trustworthy, or at least more cooperative, different alliances would have probably been formed, but instead, they chose to try and bully their way into the standards, which almost worked but eventually backfired. On a personal note, spying agencies have no place in civilian standardization. Preach it! If you can't motivate your decisions, we can't trust you. The Russians and Chinese seem to understand that and are much more cooperative in addressing concerns. So the takeaway from this, the whole takeaway from this, is that when they didn't get their way, they raised the specter of bias towards the Russian and Chinese. This has been, for the past 40 years, 30 years, the government's go-to thing. Are you communist? Are you a communist sympathizer? Are you anti-American? You're siding against America by not cooperating with the NSA? This is really, really dirty stuff. And they are messing with the core, a very core piece to our technology day to day. There is not a single person alive, I don't care how layman you are, that doesn't interface with something that touches Linux at some point. I think the vast majority of websites run on Linux, by the way. So, if ISO rejected it, how did it actually make it into the Linux kernel? Oh, so it made it into the Linux kernel. The answer is Google.
What's a Linux kernel mean? What's a kernel?
Sorry, the easiest way to say it is it made it into the core operating system. A core piece of the operating system that that then is taken and distributed in a bunch of different ways. They take the core and they build out Linux for desktop and they build out Linux for the mobile device and they build out Linux. Like a popcorn
kernel. It makes the center that everything branches out of.
Yeah, basically. And so they inserted, they got this, they got this algorithm into the kernel. That means it will be accessible to use by the end devices. And the quick answer is Google. Now, so many people try to just like knee-jerk hate Google or think Google is outright evil. And in a lot of ways, they do a lot of really bad stuff. And I'm not trying to outright defend Google. But in this way, they're trying to provide, again, a lightweight crypto algorithm.
I can only help you with the first request. I only use my powers for
Demon magic, they're listening. Your overlords are listening, Patrick. They know what you think.
All the videos.
They know what you see.
Big Brother is
all the
always
videos.
watching.
Could you hear that? Did that come across in the recording? Could you tell?
Yeah, I could hear that loud and clear. The Google Home saying, "Sorry, I couldn't help you with that."
I was about
the
to
whole
make
having
the case
security
that,
and everything. I can't help you.
I was about to make the case that Google wasn't creepy, and then my Google Home over here that I have next to me in my office sometimes just chimed in. Hey Google, What did I tell you about taxation?
I remember you told me. Taxation is theft.
Well, I hope that came through. So,
Good.
Google ostensibly got this included in Linux so that it could be used on cheaper phones, so that people that couldn't afford the flagship $1,000 phones would still be able to have encrypted devices. So, ostensibly, that's a good thing. Why the F would you ever implement technology created by the NSA to help people be safer? So, there's lots of... Obviously, this isn't going over well, and people are releasing tutorials on how to disable it. So, the good news is that it's not enabled by default on any devices yet. Not on desktops, not on phones. It's not the default option, but it is now going to be an option for certain flavors of Linux. So people that don't know any better might pick it when they're trying to encrypt their devices that are based on Linux. That's the story.
Effectively, all those conspiracy theorists that are out there and saying something to the effect of Big Brother's always watching you, they're actually not too far off from the truth, because it seems like a slippery slope where if you can weaken the security, I don't really get encryption all the way through, but if you can weaken the security more and more, bit by bit, eventually you can just have access to any telescreen you want.
Yeah, very good reference to 1984. Exactly. So, I'm usually pretty resistant to a lot of the conspiracy theories because a lot of them make extraordinary claims without also backing it up with extraordinary evidence. But this is one of those circumstances where you have a government agency that has no business inventing privacy technology when they are in the business of breaching privacy. They are in the business of being the largest technological risk to all of our privacy and lives online in the world. The United States government, I've said this before, is the largest threat to your cybersecurity in the world. And they have just now created a piece of technology that has been inserted into a core piece of tech, a core operating system in the world. People need to be aware that the government is trying to do this. People need to know, people that maybe are more naive need to be aware that the government is actively subverting your security and privacy. Because even if they're good guys and they don't try and take advantage of the weakened security on the devices that use this algorithm, anyone else in the world can. So it's not just them you're less protected from. It's everyone else as well.
What are some practical things that if somebody had an important document or something that they wanted to actually have their eyes only, what are some practical programs or methods that someone might be able to use to secure their data? Because I know you work in data security. For consumer level, not big company IT, blah, blah, blah.
Real quick, and we should totally do tutorials on this. This would be a great idea, actually. Why don't we do that? I don't even think that's the .com.
I love it when I have a good idea that Patrick says is good. Uh-oh.
So this is called Veracrypt. This is probably, I would call it the de facto hard drive and file encryption software. So this will allow you to, 7 ways from Sunday, do 8 different things. You can encrypt your entire hard drive. You can create a virtual drive that's encrypted that you put files in that you want to keep safe, and that when you're not around, it's totally encrypted and nobody can see it. And then when you want to work with the files, you type in your password. That's probably a subject for another video. I would check out Veracrypt for secure file storage. And why don't we do tutorials? Would you guys be interested in a tutorial series on tech security and privacy? Like just some for like layman to mid-range computer savviness? That might be useful. All right, cool. Let's do it. All right, if you have any comments, feedback, if you have any other story ideas, check out the content submission form. Put it in the comments. Check out the content submission form if you want us to talk about something or if you want to make us aware of something that we need to tell the world about. Thanks for watching.